Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, in the shadow of the Great Blue Hills. We're so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in that mission by letting all of your family and friends know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have two wonderful guests for you today. First up, coming to us from the Yoga House, Jesse Bennett will be here to celebrate Ripple. Later in the show, we welcome back one of our favorite guests, Joana Pastro. She'll be taking us to the beautiful nation of Brazil to celebrate her brand new book. It's called Lucas and the Capoeira Circle.
Come one, come all, for the mind-bending, dungeon-stomping, time-shifting, dragon-slaying adventure of a lifetime.
What's happening?
Something bigger is happening here.
Yeah.
And someone else is calling these shots. Yeah.
I'm your biggest fans. I don't want you dying in the third episode. Guardians of the Game is a real play Dungeons & Dragons podcast that's sure to excite and delight listeners of all ages.
How would you like your very own circus show right here?
Something good or something bad?
That is up to interpretation.
Whether you're a seasoned D&D veteran or looking for a wholesome but epic way to get into the game for the first time, Guardians of the Game has you covered. Let's get gaming, Guardians.
Well, my work here is done.
Guardians of the Game premieres on September 18th with new episodes every Wednesday.
Hey, parents and educators, are you looking for a fun way to help kids understand their feelings? Check out Felipe the Feeling Frog from the Caring Critter series, written by Zeba McGibbon. In this engaging book, Felipe explores his neighborhood and learns that there are no bad feelings, just easy and hard ones that need the right strategies for self-regulation. Perfect for kids ages 4 to 7, Felipe the Feeling Frog teaches essential emotional regulation skills through captivating and relatable stories, as well as adorable illustrations by Denise Walker. Written by a dedicated kindergarten teacher, Felipe the Feeling Frog shows children that all feelings are okay, but it's how we manage them that matters. Felipe and his friends model different emotions and strategies, making it easy for kids to learn and apply these skills. Don't miss this valuable resource for social and emotional learning. And stay tuned for more from the Caring Critters series, including the upcoming Trixie the Thoughtful Turtle. Grab your copy of Felipe the Feeling Frog today and help your child navigate their emotions with a smile. Join us right now from the beautiful state of California. Our guest is here today to celebrate big emotions, helping us understand how we can help our kids deal with their emotions, and also celebrating her latest book. It's called Ripple. Please welcome to the show, Jesse Bennett. Hey, Jesse, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Delighted to have you on. Jesse is speaking to us from her yoga studio, and she introduced me to this Pilates device called the Reformer, and it looks like a medieval rack. But she says it's pretty awesome.
I promise it's awesome, but it's definitely looking medieval. And the more I talk about it, the more medieval it's going to sound, but it's fantastic.
So tell us, let's start by talking about Ripple. I think we're going to have a great conversation here.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
So Ripple, what's Ripple all about?
Ripple is truly about the power we all have to make the world a better place, how we can all set off a ripple with our actions and our words. And my hope is that it empowers kids to know no matter how small the action seems, it can make a difference in the world and they can make a difference.
I think it's been a while, but I have shared on the podcast, when I was in high school and playing soccer, at the start of my career, I wasn't very good. In the first year, I think I played a total of 45 seconds. in that first year. And then the next, and the coach encouraged me to find something else to do. And, but I was determined. And, the second year I was playing, we had this guy from college come in, and I wasn't a very skilled player, but I was tough. And, during halftime, he said, it was a preseason game, and he said, "Jed, you're out there like a freight train. That's amazing. It's great. And that little bit of encouragement, talk about changing the trajectory of my life and the way I played. I didn't miss I literally didn't miss another minute of play, the next 2 seasons in high school and into college.
That's amazing. And that's the power of words and how we can just light someone up, and we never know what effect it's going to take, and always put that goodness out there, because look what it did for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. So how does being a yoga teacher and, connect and help you as a children's author?
I truly think that with yoga, it helps me slow down and connect to myself. And that is the gift I want to give with my words and for kids. The world, especially now more than ever, I feel like it's moving so fast and it's pulling kiddos in so many different directions. And so what I've learned from my yoga practice is it helps me land and tune into myself and be kind to myself. And that's exactly my goal for my books. So for the families and kids who read my books, they don't have to practice yoga, but they might somehow get a little of that goodness woven in for them, which is just loving yourself, slowing down, a little bit of extra mindfulness. So without doing yoga poses, you can still feel that connection and hopefully self-love, because someone like they did for you to say those kind words, they come from maybe someone who feels good about themselves, right? So if we can inspire kids to feel good about themselves and be kind to themselves, then that kindness will set off that ripple and make, someone's world better, just like it made your world better. So I feel like the tie-in is really that self-love and loving who you are and owning your unique light. And then once you do that, you don't feel the world trying to tug at you so much.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of parents who want their kids to be good kids. They don't want them to be conceited and selfish and only think about themselves. I think sometimes when they hear the word self-love, it's like, well, I don't want my kid to be only thinking about themselves. Talk a little bit about the difference between, having a healthy self-love and, kids just becoming selfish and thinking only of themselves.
With self-love, I think it's just truly honoring that every person has their own unique light and something to offer and something to give to make our world better. And a lot of times when I go visit schools and read, when I talk about just loving the light they have and the gifts that they have, my hope is that when they feel like they can love and own who they are, then they can light each other up around them. So it doesn't hopefully lead to overconfidence, but that self-love will realize that they're not competing with the person next to them. They can light them up and know there's enough light and for everyone to shine. So when they shine their light, they're inspiring the kiddo next to them to shine their own, and that there's enough of all that goodness to go around. So believing in themselves and their light and what they have to offer, I feel like when it's coming from the right place and connected in the right way, it won't lead to cocky kids.
How did you get to this point in your life? Who helped you become, I don't know if the word is enlightened, but just knowledgeable and comfortable with yourself and loving yourself and wanting to spread this message?
That is a great question, because I believe that I was a kind kid growing up, but I was a people pleaser. And I think inside I wasn't always as kind to myself. So I think it really came when I decided to be kind to myself, and yoga and Pilates really helped me feel good about myself in my own skin, which was something I struggled with for a long time. So that self-love and knowing that I deserve to feel happy, in my own body, in my own skin. Once I found that feeling with my own yoga and Pilates practice, it was something I wanted to be able to share and give to others. So I really feel like after college, when I tapped into that little bit more of that self-love, once I found it, I wanted to be able to share that feeling. And then once I had kids, I wanted my kids to feel it, and I wanted other kids to feel it, because I was hoping that if I could just make that small little ripple in the world, that I could just help make the world my kids grow up in just a little bit kinder.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to another podcast, yesterday as I was, taking way too long to mow the lawn here in Reedville. And, the guest said that our digital world is growing at an incredible pace. It's just expanding exponentially, while the physical world, the world of atoms, hasn't really changed. So we're in this, you and I were on different sides of the continent, and we have this technology that allows us to see into studios. But if I wanted to drive out to see you, I'd have to go on a road that was 50, 60, 70 years old, or get on an airplane and get in line and go through a really tedious kind of process. So it just seemed like a fascinating thing. How do you think we can kind of help our kids slow down this, because everything is growing digitally so quickly, and help those two worlds kind of catch up with each other?
I think that's a great question. And it's a big juxtaposition, because so much, my daughter just started high school. So I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. And, I think that she sees this world with really wise eyes. I'm inspired by her. She didn't want a phone. She didn't want a cell phone. But I said, you're starting high school. I need you to be able to get a hold of me, right? But she's noticing how phones and social media and all of these things change the kids around her. And she doesn't want a part of that. She said, I like feeling free. So I think it's about kids seeing a balance of both. And she has her phone. She has our contacts in it. That's it. No, all of her friends, if they want her, they text me. And so I think that as we go through this kind of technology world, and then we have the world that's also real that we live in, it's finding this balance of saying, not to vilify it. It does amazing things, how it can connect us, keep us safe, do incredible things, but it's also, how do we not let it take us over? So for example, she can contact me in the middle of the day. She can listen to a playlist on her phone, but at the same time, after school, I don't ask her to give me her phone, but she just hands it over. She wants no part of it. So I think that there's a balance that can be achieved, and she was wise enough to figure that out by herself. But my newest book that I'm working on, called Bloom, it's really, the whole world is tugging at you, especially the digital world. And you can just stop and put your hand on your heart and say, I'm going to do it my way. So I think there's a balance that can exist. And maybe, it booms so fast, maybe we can find a place where there's we can take the best out of it most days and then still savor a slowdown.
Okay. I know there are parents out there that are going, okay, how did Jess do it? You have a kid who's like, yeah, no, I don't want any part of this nonsense. We should probably have her on the show. I mean, that's amazing. I remember my son now is an adult. He's 31 years old. We got him a phone just for security. Mm-hmm. And, of course it broke, and so we had to go replace it. And when we went in to replace it, they said, great, we're going to give you a smartphone. And I said, no, I don't, we don't need that. And there just wasn't any other choice at that time. It's like, no, it's everything. And I was really angry that these big tech companies were making decisions for me about my kids. And again, this was probably 15 years ago when that happened. I can't imagine what it's like now for parents.
It's so true. I'm grateful for her outlook, and I hope that we can keep it that way too. And my son is the same way. I mean, he's 11, so he isn't interested in it the phone or anything like that, or texting buddies. But the one thing that I will say is beautiful about it is they have each other's numbers. They each have my numbers, my husband, and each other's. And so sometimes they message each other, and that melts me. So that's a beautiful part of it. But I totally agree. When did it become just a necessity across the board? It's wild. And sometimes I just want to throw my phone in the lake.
Well, your first book, I think, was called Yoga House. It talks a little bit about breath work and helping parents and kids kind of slow down. Could you give us an example of how that might work and a technique that we might be able to share with our kids? Because we hear about kids being so anxious to the point where kids are on medication for anxiety at younger and younger ages. How might we, just as an introductory lesson, like first thing, and hey, this is working for my kid, maybe, and then they'll jump into it more.
Yep, that's why I wrote the Yoga House, and I wrote it around a meditation I wrote, and I wrote a meditation in the back for the back of the book, but I wrote that meditation first and just wrote a book around it because I had no idea how to write a book. I just thought I was buying mindfulness books for my kids. That's what I was reading at night. But what I found was my daughter at the time, and my son, he was a littler at the time, but she was having a really hard time falling asleep, and her mind was busy. As soon as she laid her head down, she had concerns and worries. And so I just would ask her to breathe with me just to match my breath, because I remember when she was an infant and I would lay her on me and I would just take a big breath in and big breath out, and she would match it as a baby. And so that's what I wrote my meditation around, which is just breathe with me and find those big breaths in and find those big breaths out. And I always tell my kids it is their superpower, and it's the way they can regain control and their power when they feel like everything is getting too big. So that's how the meditation started, and I read it to my kids still every single night. We connect to our breath. We take there's things you can do just visually, with your hands when you breathe, which we do sometimes when we're laying in bed together, and sometimes it's just the words, but it's taking those big breaths in and let their exhale just wash over them, and they start to come home to themselves and regain that feeling of connection, and what's buzzing around their head becomes just a little bit quieter. And so that's how the book started, the meditation started. And for families who are looking to add a little bit of mindfulness and breath, and it just feels like, how can I help my kids breathe with them? So simple. And when they see you doing it, they will learn too. So something we do is we do just palms up. We take a big breath in. I do it in my classes too. And then we simply press our palms down, big breath out. And it's just you can feel yourself just land and calm. That's something I do with my kids. We also do something where we just kind of wash one hand down an arm and just kind of let the breath follow. So that's something that helps. We do this breath where we inhale, expand, and exhale, contract. And that's really helps, because sometimes we don't know when to inhale, when to exhale. It doesn't have to be complicated, but this gives us something to see and imagine. And I do that with kids when I teach yoga. So those are some really easy ways to just tap into breath for families. And in the back of all my books, I have a little toolkit and a meditation, ways to connect to breath and for parents to easily bring mindfulness in.
One of the things that I've learned, I've done educational magic shows at schools across the country and Central America for 35 years. And
wow.
Yeah. So when young performers come up to me and they say, how do you're not nervous, and how is it that you're going on stage and you're not worried about it? I get nervous. And I discovered, that those things that we say indicate that we're nervous, the butterflies, the breath, rapid breath, the heartbeat. It's the same physiological responses we'd experience if we were excited about something. So I tell them, just when those things happen, just tell yourself you're excited. What is it about breath? What is it? Do we know what physiologically is happening when we're doing this breath work, using our arms, hands to kind of indicate we're going, breathing in, pushing down when we're breathing out? How does that help us become more centered?
It truly calms our nervous system, and it helps us slow down, especially when we feel like that excitement ramp up. And reframing it like that is so perfect, because so much is how we frame it in our own mind. But I think physiologically, it soothes our nervous system, and it truly, it grounds us when we feel that feeling of, you're just like, that feeling of when you feel a little bit out of control of how your emotions or how your body is reacting. Once we come back to the breath and you take that big breath in and big breath out, it just from the top down soothes everything. And then I always tell my kids, you can proceed how you want. You can proceed with your power, and you choose how you can respond instead of react. And it gives us the opportunity to do that by finding that soothing feeling first and control. And then if you need a good cry, you get that. Or if you're ready to proceed with excitement, you can. But I think it's just so powerful. I'm not a scientist, but I've seen it. I see the power of it, and I experience it with myself and my kids all the time.
So I know there's a parent out there that's listening to this and thinking, yeah, okay, but my kid got a lot of extra energy. And if I ask my kid to sit down and breathe with me, it might last 2 or 3 minutes. Only way I'm going to get him to sit down and breathe with me is to tie him to a chair. What would you say to that parent?
I say your kid is awesome, and there's a right moment to give things a try, right? So if your kiddo is running, because I see it too with my kiddos, it's not like they're running around or being wild. I want them to be kids, but I see the moments when we can tap into a skill before the skill is needed, which is what I try to do. And usually bedtime is when, at the end of the day, is when I would tap into a little bit of mindfulness. When the wiggles are out and the body's a little bit more calm, that's when I would practice a little bit of breath work. And I would practice it before that breath work is needed, so that they have a toolkit to tap into when things get tough.
Yeah. You seem so calm and in control. Do you ever experience moments where you want to tear your hair out and open up the window and just scream at the world?
I will say that, we all have our moments, but I feel like this practice has really given me the opportunity to learn how to respond instead of react. Yeah. So I am not a very reactive person. I just have never been. So I'm pretty chill.
Cool. And, when we're talking about this, I'm too thinking there might be folks out there thinking, yeah, this is great, but I don't have time for that. I can't sit and meditate or get my kids to sit and meditate for a half hour, an hour. Are we talking about some practice that can be really kind of quick and efficient?
Absolutely. No kiddo will sit with me and meditate for a half an hour, and I probably wouldn't either. I'd start making a shopping list in my head. So that's completely fine. I think what I love to share is that mindfulness is accessible. And so like the meditations I write, especially, for example, the yoga house, you don't have to have some sort of skill set or be able to do it yourself. Just read a meditation together. It will guide your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. There's no wrong way to do it. If you can just place your hand on your heart and take a big breath in and a big breath out, that's all it takes, because we're breathing all day. So if we can just add a tiny bit of mindfulness into it, it'll make all the difference in the world. So it does not need to be more than a couple of inhales and exhales, or just taking a moment before the hustle sets in, or knowing that you can do that so that you don't feel like you're always in just action mode. So it's very accessible. You could do it. It could take 30 seconds out of your day, but it can make a huge difference.
And I'm imagining in those moments, those quiet moments that you're breathing with a kid, that could be the perfect time to remind them that they have the power to change somebody's life and to change the world.
Absolutely. It's a really special moment, and they realize just that they are amazing and capable. And when you take that moment with them, it can just be a moment that they're loved. And so when they feel that, then they are ready to go make a change in the world. And I see it with my kids, because I see them tap into that breath, that calm, and when they do that, they have more love to give and more light to shine. And that's what I want for them. And that's what I want for all kids.
Yeah. One last question, Jesse. I was very surprised when I heard people in my own faith. I'm a Christian, a Catholic, and I've heard some of our religious leaders say, don't do yoga. It's not Christian. It's anti-Christian. It's all these things that I personally think was pretty nonsensical. But could you just address that? If there's somebody out there that's thinking, you know what, this seems really intriguing, but I heard it's not a good thing for a person of faith to do.
I've heard this, and I've been asked not to teach certain places because of that. And all I could share is that it is not. I'm not teaching an ideology. I'm teaching movement. I try to just make it really simple, especially because I've gone into classes and I've had kids say, my mom says I can't do this, or I'm not allowed to do this. And I said, well, let's just stretch and breathe. These are just poses to make us feel good. And so I'm not trying to teach anything else but a little self-love and breath and movement. And you can call it anything you would like, but it's just about making us feel better and be kinder towards ourselves and others. And so I just try to really take the rest of it away and whatever labels have been put on it and just focus on it's breath and movement. Let's get our wiggles out. Let's stretch a little bit. We don't have to call it anything, and kids love it. So I'm not trying to preach anything when I teach except for telling the kids they're amazing, they're capable, they're strong, and hopefully by me showing up there, they know that they matter.
Well, those are the things that I learned in my religious class. So I
love it.
We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about you and the amazing books you're sharing with the world.
That is so kind. Well, the easiest way to find me is on Instagram, just my name, Jesse Bennett, and my books are available anywhere books are sold online, and then always through me as well, because I love to sign books and send them and donate them. So if there's something going on with a school or a charity, I love to send my books out as well.
Great. And is there a website people can check out?
You know, honestly, I'm working on updating it. So my Instagram's the easiest way because then I can connect with people one-on-one and they can message me and I can address whatever they need. But I'm working on updating that.
Okay. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Ripple. Our guest has been Jesse Bennett. Jesse, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I have loved chatting with you.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Hey, are you ready to ignite a passion for reading in your students? Introducing bookandauthor.com, your gateway to literacy connections. With bookandauthor.com, connecting your school with talented authors of captivating kids' books has never been easier. Simply visit our user-friendly website and explore our extensive database of authors. Filter your search based on budget, genre, and availability. Discover the perfect match for your school and your students. But that's not all. With bookandauthor.com, you have the power to request a proposal. Let vetted authors come to you with their tailored ideas, ensuring an unforgettable literacy experience for your students. Don't wait any longer to inspire young minds through the magic of books. Visit bookandauthor.com today and open the door to a world of literacy connections. Bookandauthor.com, where literacy comes to life. My friends, I am so excited. We are welcoming back one of my favorite guests. She is here to celebrate her brand new book. It's called Lucas and the Capoeira Circle. Please welcome back to the show, Joana. Pastro, Joana, how are you?
I'm great. So glad to be here with you again.
Yes,
Such
we've
a
had
pleasure.
such a fun time in the past celebrating your books. Your books always seem to be celebrating our familiar relationships, the relationships we have with those that are closest to us.
Yes, that's true. I notice sometimes whenever I start a new project, inevitably I will realize like, oh, this is about friendship again, or this is about being like the family love and being together. And so it's definitely something that I carry with me at all times and that I value a lot. And I have great friends and a great family, so it's not a lack of, but it's just something that is truly important to me, and I somehow want to share with my readers. And, yeah.
Well, I think it's important too, and these days with social media, when everybody has a platform, and that's great, but there are a lot of people out there that aren't blessed with the kind of relationships, both friends and family that you have and that I've been blessed with. And I feel bad for those folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really, and that, sometimes I worry about like sharing this and, what kind of effect it might have in people. But I hope it's just, it will bring love to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a kid has a troubled home, or that they can find some solace in books that show that relationships can be good and that they can grow up and have those relationships.
Yeah.
If they don't have it now. So, yeah.
And we talk about family, and there are some people who are blessed to be part of a huge biological family, and others aren't, but that doesn't prevent us from being part of a beautiful, huge, chosen family.
Yes, true. And that's where the friendships come in. And even like I have 3 sisters. I come from a big family. My husband's family, like we are all a big family. We all, like when we are in Brazil, we are all together the whole time, like all the time. So both my families, mine and my husband's. And my sisters even, like, because they have their extended families, and they sort of envy that, because it's always my big family that, is together. But over here in the US, it's us, like I have my sister-in-law who lives 1 minute from us, and with her 2 daughters, but our circle is much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And still, like we have so many great friends that we consider family, that are closer, physically closer. And it's great too. And it's wonderful to know that we were chosen too by someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, capoeira, that is something I know a little bit about it. I've seen it's a kind of, it's been described to me as a dance and combat. There's some kind of connection there.
Yes. So capoeira has, like, the elements of capoeira are the acrobatic moves, like the martial arts, like it looks like a fight, but it has music and it looks like a dance too. And the music is essential to it, because all the movements, they are rhythmic, and they have this pacing that follows the music, that flows with the music. So it is considered a dance and also a martial arts. And actually the story is quite interesting, because it came to Brazil, it's brought by enslaved African people back in the 17th century, and or before even. And they would practice this in the big coffee farms that they were forced to work, and with their musical instruments. So they had this music, and they were around this circle, which we call a roda, and they would just be quote unquote dancing. But in reality, they were practicing this martial art, which they used to defend themselves. And whenever they managed to escape the big farmheads and so it's quite fascinating. And for some time when they got, when the authorities realized that it wasn't really a dance, but a fighting style, it got prohibited. So yeah, so it's very ingenious.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about Lucas and his struggles in this book.
Yeah, so it's funny because he has this stage fright, which I think most of us, I want to say most, I have. Like I was kind of nervous getting in here today with you. It's like you don't know how you're going to perform. Is everything going to work? Like in my case here, am I going to say something completely wrong or off that I don't mean? Is my, sometimes the English words don't come out right. So, and for him, it's the same thing. He is going to his batizado, which is his big first ceremony where he's getting his corda, which is the belt. And all of a sudden he starts thinking that, he might not perform well. Like everyone's going to be looking at me. So he starts and his mom, she says something to his little sister about her losing her jinga, and jinga is like the movement, is like the confidence, and he gets all worried because all of a sudden he thinks like he's losing his jinga. So he has this whole process that he goes through where he's like thinking, how do I get my jinga back? And so he works it inside himself until finally he does get it back. And then I think I hope that the message from the book will help people, and even it helps me, okay, just one step at a time, take deep breaths, use your strategies, and you can get through anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that word jinga. And
yes.
Your jinga back. I feel I'm getting my jinga back after my accident last year. I'm still kind of figuring out how to move. And, I love that I'm going to use that word.
Yes. Please do.
Find that jinga. I got to find that jinga
let's make it a thing. Hashtag jinga.
Yes. So, I think Lucas is like you said, Lucas is experiencing something we all kind of experience from time to time. I know, I've read many things that say that the thing that people are most frightened of is public speaking and getting up in front of an audience. And I know myself, I've talked about it here on the podcast, when young performers come up to me and they say, oh, you do this and you just, you're backstage and you're just all chill and you relax and you go out and like, do you ever get nervous? And I say to them, those things that you feel when you're nervous, the heart rate and you kind of sweat and the butterflies, that's the same thing I experience when I am excited. So when I feel those things coming, I just say to myself, oh, I'm excited. And it takes the nerves away.
Yeah. I think it's, it's funny for me because like I am not an introvert. Mm-hmm. Like I can talk to anyone. I have fun talking to people, to strangers even. I don't, I'm standing in line and all of a sudden I'm talking to the person behind me. It's fine. But it's always like the anticipation of something like this. Like once I saw you, I'm like, oh, yay, Jed's here. So I immediately relaxed. But it's the getting to that point where I'm, okay, time, showtime. That's what gets me. And, butterflies, like Lucas has the butterflies in his stomach.
I guess that's something as parents we need to kind of help our kids understand that, yeah, you're going to get through this. You've done it before. Have some confidence. Give them that exterior confidence that they're trying to find within themselves.
Uh-huh. Yes. I have 3 kids. So they go through that a lot, like every kid. But I don't try to hide, like, because I think my parents are, very successful people and, confident. And I remember always thinking that they were never scared, So maybe if I have seen them have a little bit of stage fright, I would work this better in my life. So I always, I show them, look, I get nervous too. When situations come, the other day I did an illegal U-turn by mistake.
Uh-huh.
And the cop was right there. So it was, I wasn't, the cop was right by my side and I did the illegal U-turn. I was in an area that I don't know. And I was with my daughter. He immediately flashed the lights and I stopped and I'm like, why is he stopping me? Because I had no idea. And so I opened the window and I'm like, and he's like, do you know why I'm stopping you? And I'm like, no. And he told me, and my daughter, she saw how nervous I got. And, and she was talking and he was talking to her, the police officer was talking to her and telling her, telling me how I needed to be more, pay better attention because of my daughter that was right there. And I was giving her a bad example and all of that, but it was good. In the end, it was okay. But I turned to my daughter afterwards and I said, see, we do wrong things too. I'm not perfect. I got distracted. I shouldn't.
Uh-huh.
And it's okay. I won't do it anymore. Yeah. So, so everything, I think it's important to show our kids how vulnerable we can be too.
Absolutely. I got to ask, people are wondering, did you get a ticket or a warning?
A warning.
Oh, good.
Yeah. He gave me, and also a long speech, which I'm fine with.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Family is such an important thing for you, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. Your Brazilian culture is also something that's very important to you and something that you love to celebrate in your books as well.
Yes. I have the book, the Bisa's Carnival, about Carnival, and then this one is Capoeira, which is huge for us Brazilians. It's such a great example of expression of our culture. And I also have a Festa for Luana, which is a book about Festa Junina, which is a harvest celebration that we have usually in the winter, which for us is June, July. Actually, Junina comes from June, so it's celebrated in the month of June. And yes, and I love celebrating those, and it just brings me closer to my culture. And yeah.
Brazil seems like this beautiful place. It's vast.
Yes.
It's huge. I'm curious, we've had authors on from India who've told us that, depending on where you are in India, there's different cultures, different languages, different traditions. Is the same true in Brazil? Are there very distinct cultures and languages in the different parts of your country?
No. We all speak Portuguese, but there are we have different influences. So I was born in Brasilia, which is the capital of Brazil. My parents were born so Brasilia is in the central area. Then my parents were born in the southeast area and my grandparents in the northeast. Then I lived most of my life, or by now I lived half of my life there in the south. And so I get a little bit of each of those areas in my education, the way I was raised. But so there are some traditional festivities that we didn't have in the south and that I'm not really familiar with, especially in the north, near the rainforest. There are different traditions that I've heard of and I've seen videos about, but I'm not truly familiar with. But these that I mentioned, like Festa Junina was really big for me growing up. Carnival also, but in the South, the Carnival is not as exciting as the rest of the country. And Capoeira is all over. And I think there are areas that will have more of it. But yeah, so we all speak Portuguese and we do have different influences. In the South, there are a lot more European influence. Although there are Europeans all over, but I think the African Brazilians, they're more towards the northeast or north of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big cultural cauldron.
Yeah. I was always fascinated. There's a city in Brazil. I think it's pronounced Manaus.
Yes.
It's in the middle of the rainforest, and
yes.
can only get there by boat or plane. And we actually had listeners there of the podcast.
Uh-huh.
So,
oh, that's fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah. What would you want? Because the other thing we hear sometimes about Brazil and lots of different countries is that it's dangerous. You can't go there. You can't visit. What would you say to somebody like my beautiful wife? Like, I don't know. I watch Univision too much.
There she is.
But what would you say to her who's a little bit nervous about visiting Brazil?
Well, I think like everywhere you go, like there will be, you should do your research and be safe, like because I guess anywhere you can be mugged or, mm-hmm. and don't go anywhere that is not recommended to go. So right. Brazil, yes, we have lots of problems, but as long as you keep, you know what you're doing, you don't go out like super late at night, you don't go to areas that are not, because there are areas that are not recommended for tourists that you shouldn't go in, like the comunidades, which we used to call favelas, not anymore. Those great people live there, right? But there's also, drug trafficking, and that we know, and we see that in movies. So unfortunately, but it's everywhere. You just have to be careful. I think the big thing is don't walk by yourself at night. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's serves anywhere. And that's great advice if you're walking in Boston or walking in any big city. Yes. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm just at home when I get there. Like, I think the biggest thing that the big stress for me is traffic. I don't drive over there. I haven't driven because the lanes are so much, narrower, and it's difficult to drive there. Yeah. And everything else, like we keep our windows rolled up, you don't give any chances. Right. Yeah. Well, hold your purse tight. Well, and that's, again, it's, the same advice I would say to somebody who is walking, in different parts of any city around. The reason I ask is not to put you on the spot, but just to, I want to encourage people to go beyond the headlines. One of the reasons we see all these headlines about crime is that that's what sells. No one, picks up a newspaper to hear that, everybody gets along well in this country or that country, the old newspaper saying, if it bleeds, it leads. So sometimes it can really magnify issues that aren't all that big. Yeah, I think Brazil is a very welcoming country. Everyone, people love foreigners. It's different than some places that we hear where they don't like tourists. Mm-hmm. But in Brazil, we do love tourists. We really value, and, people love it. And even when someone moves to Brazil, we are very welcoming. And I just, lost my train of thought for a second, but yes, visit Brazil because it's a beautiful country. There's so much to see. And, if you have a month to visit, you will have a month worth of things to do. So yes, I encourage everyone to go and visit because it's great. I love it. And, I wish flying there wasn't so expensive. because it is, and we are a family of 5, so multiply.
Yeah. So what part of Brazilian culture and family life will you be celebrating in your next book?
So it's a Festa for Luana, which is the Festa Junina, which is the harvest festival that happens typically in June as Junina. But, we love it so much that it typically starts, maybe late in May and goes sometimes all the way through July. People just love it. There's a lot of good food. And like I said, it celebrates harvest in the winter, and typically it has a big bonfire, lots of traditional dancing. People dress up as with what we call a caipira costume, which is just basically a countryside style, like a lot of plaid and flowery, just like my dress right now. And, there's they use country style hats, made of not wicker. What's it called?
It's straw.
Straw, sorry. Yes. See, my English sometimes escapes me. But yeah, so straw hats.
Sometimes too.
Good. I feel better. But yeah, straw hats. And so, but the food, that's always been my favorite part of it. Like a lot of corn-based desserts, and pamonha, which is made of corn, and it's just this, I don't even know how to explain, like they mash the corn, and it's delicious, and can be salty, it can be sweet, and so it's so much fun.
That's, as Joanna is speaking, she just has this bright smile as she's speaking about her country and the customs, and so it's I love it, and Brazil is on my bucket list of places to visit.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe next time I go, you can visit with me.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, one thing we should do is encourage people to visit your website. Tell us where they can go.
Yes. So my website is joannapastro.com. And then I am on Instagram at Joanna Pastro, and I haven't really been on Twitter. Now I'm sort of migrating to Blue Sky, and that's also at Joanna Pastro. Oh. So you can find me in a lot of places. No excuses.
Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of Lucas and the Capoeira Circle. Our guest has been Joanna Pastro. Joanna, thanks so much for being back with us.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you again.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and we hope you'll join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Hey, I was mentioning that you can help us in our mission to help all families grow closer by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can find us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network and on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods. Another way that would really help us is for you to write a review. Write a review of the show on Spotify, on Apple, on the iHeartRadio app. It's a great way to help the show and help other people find the show and get more families reading together. We'd also love it if you could connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at readingwithyourkids on Instagram, at Gently Magic on X. Of course, we'd love for you to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. You can find all of our Drawing with Your Kids videos and our STEM is Family Fun videos on our YouTube channel. And we'd love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Check out our blog. Visit our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame and use the contact button to let us know what you love about the show. Let us know what we could be doing better, and let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. That's something that we really, really love. And it also helps us get guests on the show. If I can reach out to someone and say, hey, so-and-so from Albuquerque told me that they love your book and they'd love to hear you on Reading with Your Kids, that really gets an author's attention. So check it out today, readingwithyourkids.com. And if you're an author and you'd like to be on the show, be sure to visit readingwithyourkids.com and click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. Find out how you can be a guest. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of Kidlit fans all over the world about your wonderful children's book. You can also find out about our effective and very affordable promotional services. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. First, we'll start by thanking my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Raylene Tang. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.